Hello students, welcome back. Myself Pushpendra Singh and we are going to start with our current affairs. So today you have 20th March 2021. All right, and we are going to start with our current affairs preparation or current affairs based the lecture. These lectures are basically uploaded on the YouTube. You can subscribe our channel on the YouTube also for your daily current affairs related videos or lectures. You can also study the national newspaper like the Hindu or Indian Express. Both of these newspapers are equally good. You can supplement your preparation with the help of these lectures, which are also equally good. Okay, so let's begin with the lecture. Okay, so first is basically the first news which is flashing in the Hindu newspaper is the Constitutional Scheduled Caste Order Amendment Bill 2021. Okay, so the Constitution basically mandated that initially the President of India is empowered to issue an order, okay, regarding the enumeration of the caste in the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes, right? So that means a particular caste or particular tribe can be enumerated as a scheduled caste and scheduled tribe through the presidential order, okay, and subsequent any changes which have to be made, right, in both the list, whether it is a central list or in the state list, it will be done only by the parliament, okay, that too by passing an amendment bill. So this is the background where certain community, specifically in the Tamil Nadu, have been enumerated as the Devendra Kula Vellalar community. Okay, so this Devendra Kula Vellalar community is basically consisting of the 7 subcaste. So the SC list or the central SC list or state SC list basically have been reclassifying them, right? As Devendra Vellalar community or Devendra Kula Vellalar community in the SC list, specifically SC list. So there was no addition or subtraction, it was only reclassifying them. Okay, this was a long pending demand from the Tamil Nadu government or from the community which is basically belong to the Devendra Kula Vellalar community. Now what happens is the Lok Sabha passed this Constitution Scheduled Caste Order Amendment Bill 2021, which is basically seeking to put all these 7 castes which are already existed in the Tamil Nadu, okay, under the common nomenclature. That means a common umbrella name would be given to those 7 castes, that is called Devendra Kula Vellalars. Okay, and these Devendra Kula Vellalar are basically consisting of 7 castes residing in Tamil Nadu. These castes included the Devendra Kulantham, then Kadian, then third is Kaladi, fourth is Kudumbam, fifth is Palan, sixth is Panadi, and the 7th is Barian, right? These are the 7 castes which have been reclassified as Devendra Kula Velar. And this already, state government has already set up, a committee regarding to reclassify this class, these classes. Now this committee has already submitted a report to the Tamil Nadu government. Now Tamil Nadu government has forwarded this report, right, or its recommendation to the center to make the changes in the basically scheduled caste list. Okay, now this change for this demand or the demand for the change is very old. It was not something related to the addition or deletion of any community in the scheduled caste list, but it is basically reclassifying them, okay, based on the common umbrella name. Okay, so there was a reason that whole new addition was not made to the scheduled caste list to ensure that old caste certificate issues, right, to specifically to those community belonging to already the Devendra Kula Vellalar community, they are all well recognized and they are not rejected because there was no such, right, addition which was made to the list. Okay, next, the MMDR Amendment Bill. What is MMDR Amendment Bill? That is Mines Mineral Development and Regulation Amendment Bill 2021. Okay, so this is the bill which basically mandated or which amend certain changes in the original Mines and Mineral Act. So okay, so Lok Sabha has passed the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Bill 2021. Okay, this amendment bill was passed for the renewal of the auction process for the minerals and the coal mining rights. Okay, as you know that there is a procedure which is called auction, through which the mineral rights have been, the mineral and the coal rights have been given. So it basically try to streamline this, renewal of this auction process, right? So that the state government can get the revenue, and it is also something related to the ease of doing business also. Okay, so this amendment process, which basically allowed the captive miners, okay, these captive miners basically which are involved in the coal and the minerals extraction, right? So this amendment allows those miners, right, to sell up to 50% of their production. That means they can sell up to 50% of their production, provided they meeting the requirement of end use plant. That means once they meet the requirement of the end use plant, they can sell 50% of their production, right, to the market, right? That is on the paying of the additional royalty to the state government, right? There will be two benefits for that. The first is basically the state government will be eligible to get the additional royalty in the in the behalf of sending or the selling those additional amount of, you know, the production, right, to the market. And the second is basically the captive miners also would be, incentivized, right, for basically mining of, or to expand the mining basically related to the coal and the minerals. Okay, so operators are currently only allowed to use coal and minerals extracted from the captive mines of their own industrial use, right? So there was a provision that they can only use, right, for their own industrial use, but now the amendment will allow to sell, right, up to 50% of their production after meeting the end use requirement of the plant. Okay, now this amendment has made flexibility, okay, that would allow the miners to maximize the output, because now they are eligible to sell the extra production, okay, or extra output from the captive mines. Now they will get the flexibility in that process. They would be able to sell their output, okay, in excess to whatever it is requirement for the end use, isn't it? Now the amendment also proposes the fixed additional royalty payment, okay, that will be given to the states in the case of the extension of the mining areas, that too for central public sector undertakings. Okay, so that will be having benefit of, providing this additional amount of revenue to the state government. Okay, and the bill also empowered the central government to conduct the auction or re-auction process, obviously to give the mining rights to the miners, right, specifically in the mining lease. If the state government fails to, right, complete the auction process on that time, right? So that is, if the state government fails to complete this auction process, this amendment will allow the central government to do the auction and the re-auction process for selling of these mining lease, right? And as decided after consultation with the center and the state, in that process. Okay, next, the global hunger index. What is global hunger index? So this global hunger index is basically published, right, by an NGO which is known as, the Wealth Hunger Life. Okay, it is published by an NGO which is known as the Wealth Hunger Life. Okay, now this NGO which placed this year 2020 India's at 94th position out of 107 countries which it surveys in terms of the global hunger index. So after placing the India's position as 94th position, the Union Minister for the Agriculture basically questioned, right, specifically the Rajya Sabha, right, the methodology and the data accuracy which was adopted for making this global hunger index report, okay, which placed India at 94th position out of 107 countries which was reported. Okay, the minister also written a letter to NGO, which is known as the Wealth Hunger Life, which is basically, provides this report of Global Hunger Index. Now, the agriculture minister also expressed his concern regarding the methodology, regarding the data accuracy, and regarding the sample size which was collected by an NGO from the Indian context. Okay, but there is, obviously there was some flaw in the data accuracy, in the methodology which is adopted by the NGO. But this year the India's rank have improved. So India's rank was improved from 102nd position that was there in 2019. Now it has improved to 94th position in 2020. Okay, but still the India's rank is far behind than Nepal, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. Okay, next, the National Family Health Survey, the fourth data, as well as you have the comprehensive, that is the National Family Health Survey. Okay, then you have the comprehensive National Nutrition Survey. Okay, these two datas basically, have compared the data related to the hunger. So according to the fourth round of the National Family Health Survey, okay, the percentage of the wasted children, the percentage of the stunted children, and the percentage of malnourished children in 2015-16, okay, was 21%, 38.4%, and 35.7% respectively. Okay, this was the data that was from the fourth round of National Family Health Survey. Okay, if you compare with this data of National Family Health Survey fourth round with the comprehensive National Nutrition Survey, which was collected in 2017-18, that data shows that since 2015-16, right, the data shows in 2017-18 there was an improvement of 4%, 3.7%, and 2.3% in the number of children who are wasted, stunted, and the malnourished. Okay, so there was significant improvement. Okay, the first ever, the comprehensive, National Nutrition Survey, which was commissioned by the government in 2016, which was conducted in 2016-18, and this comprehensive National Nutrition Survey, which was led by the Union Health Ministry in collaboration with the UNICEF. Okay, the finding of this national, comprehensive National Nutrition Survey was published in 2019. Okay, the comprehensive National Nutrition Survey is the only nutrition data where, where basically, the data belongs to nutrition have been taken, but the National Family Health Survey basically encompassing overall health indicators, right? Overall health indicators. Okay. Next, the next news related to the tiger. Okay. Now, as you know that the Ranthambore Tiger Sanctuary, which is located in the Sabai Madhopur district of Rajasthan, now there was a news that 6 tigers, right, are missing. 6 tigers are not accounted for since March 2020. Okay, these 6, among 6 tigers, 4 were adult and 2 were sub-adult, right? They were not accounted since March 2020 in the Ranthambore National Park or National Sanctuary, which is located in Rajasthan. Okay, now what happens is, after they're missing, the state forest officials are not willing to label them as a missing. Okay, and the state forest officials also denied the report that there may be some poaching that would have killed the tigers, 6 tigers in the Ranthambore National Park. So they also denied this report. Okay, they are not labeling them missing, or they are also denying that they have been poached. So what happens is, the National Tiger Conservation Authority, which is a wing of the Union, Environmental and Forest Ministry, have constituted a committee, right, to ascertain the fact related to, the disappearance of 6 tigers from the Ranthambore Tiger Sanctuary of Rajasthan. Okay, and the Ranthambore Reserve is the only reserve or only source of the tigers in the territory, right, where around 53 tigers constituting the 90% of the population in the block. Okay, which is basically based on the latest census which was published, which was made public in the last year. Okay, and India has around 2,967 tigers. Okay, which is a third more than in 2014 if you compare the data with 2014. Okay, and the result which was published in July 29 last year, right? The Ranthambore has 55 tigers, or Ranthambore had 55 tigers out of this. Okay, regarding the number of states where the tiger population is more, the Madhya Pradesh has the highest number of tiger population, that is around 526 numbers. Okay, then Karnataka has the second highest, that is 524, and the Uttarakhand has the third largest, which is 442 number of tiger population. Okay, the two states, Chhattisgarh and the Mizoram, saw the decline in the tiger population. Okay, and remaining all other states saw the increase in the number of tigers in the respective states. Okay, next, the Gayatri Mantra. Okay, so what is happening is that the Department of Science and Technology, okay, have funded a clinical trial at All India Institute of Medical Science, Rishikesh, okay, to determine whether the chanting of the Gayatri Mantra, right, which is a religious hymn, right, would aid the quality of the recovery of the patients which are basically recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. That means, right, this funded a project which was the Department of Science and Technology is funding this clinical trial of the chanting of this Gayatri Mantra as a religious hymn, whether it aid in the recovery of those patients who were infected by the COVID-19. Obviously, this process is not applicable to the critically ill patients, right? So it is just to check whether it aids, right, the recovery of those patients by performing this religious hymn and by performing the yoga practice of pranayama, okay, which can aid whether the quality of the recovery of the patients or not. Okay, now the latest study which was recently been conducted will not test the effect of the intervention on the severely ill patient. Okay, that was not there. Okay, so it will evaluate whether the group on the time taken to test negative, okay, right, how is or how fast they are recovering and the length of the hospital stay that they are staying. Okay, and it will be evaluated whether such pranayama or religious hymn basically have reduced the fatigue or anxiety disorder also. Regarding Gayatri Mantra, the Gayatri Mantra is a religious hymn which is also known as Savitri Mantra. Okay, it is highly revered mantra, specifically in the Hinduism, okay, which is from the Rig Veda, and it is dedicated to the Savitra, which is known as the Ved Mata. Okay, and Maharshi Vishwamitra had created this Gayatri Mantra. Okay, now this Gayatri Mantra is an important part of the Upanyaya ceremony. Okay, this Upanyaya ceremony is basically for the young males in the Hinduism. Okay, and it has been recited just like a Om Bhu Bhuva Swaha. This type of recitement of this mantra is done by the Dvija men, okay, as a part of their daily rituals or daily practice. Okay, now the modern Hindu reform movement that was started during the modern India period, right, during the Britishers, also spread this practice of the chanting of this Gayatri Mantra to women, right, as well as to the other caste which were not allowed to chant this, right. So now the uses of this Gayatri Mantra is more widespread. It includes the women, the other caste untouchables. Now it is chanted, or now it is recited by almost every caste in our country. So this is Gayatri Mantra, right? You can also read it. Okay, next, the impact of COVID-19 on the poverty. Okay, this news is something which is related to what was the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic in our country. Okay, whether the poverty has declined or whether the poverty has increased, right, due to the pandemic which was related to the COVID-19. Okay, so the report which was analyzed by the Pew Research Center. Okay, now this report says that the India's middle class have shrunk by a third due to the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, okay, recession. Now, this COVID-19 pandemic recession has reduced or have shrunk, the India's middle class population by one third. Now, where the shrunken population have gone, so this shrunk population, which have reduced by one third, has increased the number of poor people in our country. That means the middle class population have shrunk by third, and this reduced number have added to the poor people. Okay, which is basically have more than doubled. So that is, if they are earning less than 150 per day, so that number of poor people have been doubled as analyzed by the Pew Research Center. So the number of poor people had doubled in this recession period, COVID-19 related pandemic, related recession period, and the number of middle class, the people have shrunk by a third. Okay, if you compare this India's figure with the China income remained relatively unshaken. Okay, there was no such major changes in the Chinese income. Okay, and in the China there was just 2% drop in the middle class population, right, which was just shrunk just by 2% only. But in India, one third of the population have shrunk. Okay, now this report uses the World Bank projection of the economic growth to estimate, right, what was the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the India's income. Okay, now the lockdown which was triggered, okay, as you know that the pan India level lockdown which was introduced by the government of India have resulted in the total shutting down of the business. Okay, this shutting down of the business have impact on the number of jobs. So jobs were lost, the incomes were lost. Okay, and which has led to the plunging of the Indian economy to the deep recession. And that is the reason the number of people who were in the middle income group or middle class have been decreased or have been shrunk by a third, and the number of people who are poor have more than doubled. Okay, now this middle class in India estimated to be shrunk by 3.2 crore. So in 2020, 3.2 crore middle class have been shrunk. That was direct consequences of the downturn, or which is also the consequence of the Corona-19 shutdown. That was total lockdown. Okay, and that may, the number of the people may also absent during the pandemic. Okay, and the approximately the income that was there, the 700 to 1,500 rupees, or $10 to $20 per day. That was the category of the person. Okay, and the number of people which comes in the poor income or poor category, right? Their income is less than $2, or even less than that, right? The number of poor people have doubled. So their population has, or their number has increased by 7.5 crore. Okay, that was a direct impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and related total shutting down of the business. This accounts for nearly 60% of the global increase in the poverty, right? So India's increment in the number of poor people is accounting for the 60% of the global increase in the poverty during such COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. Okay, and it is also noted that the spike in the MGNREGA participant, right, as a proof that the poor are unable to find a job, specifically in the urban areas or in the other rural avenues, right? So there was a demand for the MGNREGA as there was no jobs available during the pandemic. Okay, so this graph, you can read it. This graph shows that, see, this blue one shows the pre-pandemic projection and the red one shows that post-pandemic estimate. Okay, so first of all, you see this income tiers. So the poor is basically known that the person who is earning less than or equal to $2 per day. The low income basically earning more than $2 to less than or equal to $10. Then middle income people who is earning more than $10 but less than or equal to $20 per day. Then upper middle income people who is earning more than $20 but earning less than or equal to $50 per day. The high income people which are earning more than $50 per day. Okay, this is the classification as an income tier related to the poor, low income, middle income, upper middle income, and high income bracket categories of the people. Now you see, first you see the high income people which was there before pandemic, that was 0.3 crore. zero point 0.3 crore population was there, but now it has also declined to 0.2 crore. That means their population also declined. Then upper middle income that was there before lockdown, 2.2 crore, now it has declined to 1.6 crore. That means this is also declined. Okay, middle income that was 9.9 crore, it has declined to 6.6 crore, which is also declined. Then low income people, which was the 119.7, which is also 116.2. Okay, which is again decline. Okay, but you see here the poor people almost 5.9 crore to jump to 13.4 crore. That means except the poor category, okay, all other high income, upper middle income, and the low income age group, or low income, the category of the people, their population, their number have declined, but in the poor the number has inclined. So that is, in the poor, the pre-corona lockdown, that population was 5.9 crore, but it has jumped to 13.4 crore. That shows that this addition of the extra, that is around 7.4 crore, okay, or 8.4 crore, is basically some 7.4 crore is something which is increased from the low income, middle income, upper middle income, and the high income category of the people. Okay, next, the aluminum air battery. Okay, so this is a new class of the battery which is in developed by basically a startup which is based in Israel, which is based in the Israel. So this aluminum air battery is basically would replace the lithium ion battery, which is currently being used specifically in the vehicles. As you have seen that almost all of the automobile vehicles are using this lithium ion battery, but now this aluminum air battery would have more efficiency and would have more output, right? That will ultimately replace this lithium ion battery. So what happens is, the state owned, the Indian Oil Corporation Limited, have entered the joint venture with the company which has developed this aluminum air battery, which was the Israel based a battery technology startup which is known as FinEnergy. Okay, so this FinEnergy is basically the Israel based startup which has developed this, the aluminum air battery. So the Indian Oil Corporation Limited have entered a joint venture with this Israeli startup FinEnergy to develop the aluminum air battery technology, right? That will be based on the battery systems which will be used for the electric vehicles, which will be used for storage purpose also, right, as well as the hydrogen storage solutions also. As you know that the Maruti Suzuki and Ashok Leyland both have already signed the letter of intent with with this joint venture, right, which is basically between the Indian Oil Corporation Limited as well as the Israel based startup FinEnergy, right, to commercially deploy the battery solutions which is produced by the Indian Oil Corporation Limited FinEnergy joint venture. Okay, so the letter of intent was already signed, okay, right, for taking the interest in the basically commercial deployment of that solution or battery solution that will be based on the aluminum air battery. Okay, now this aluminum air batteries are said to be the lower cost, okay, and they are more efficient, okay, and they are alternative to the lithium ion batteries which are currently being used specifically in the electric vehicles in our country. Okay, now what is the how this aluminum air batteries basically functions? They utilize the oxygen, okay, the oxygen which is available in the air. So they use the oxygen, right? This oxygen react with the aluminum hydroxide, okay, and this aluminum hydroxide solution, right, it will be oxidized, right, the aluminum, and produce the electricity. So that is, the aluminum will be ultimately, oxidized, and that in that process, the production of the electricity will be taken place. Now what are the other benefits? So first of all, the aluminum air battery, which will be having the more applicability specifically in the electric vehicles. Okay, so it will have the added advantage that once fully charged, it can go double, right, as a range, right, when you compare with the lithium ion battery. For example, the aluminum air battery once charged fully can have the range of around 400 kilometers or even more, right, when the battery is fully charged. But currently the lithium ion battery once fully charged, okay, can offer the range of 150 to 200 kilometers, full charge. But that aluminum air battery will provide you 400 kilometers, even more than that, the range. Okay, the aluminum plate which is basically used in the aluminum air battery, which will be converted into aluminum trihydroxide, okay, and over the period of the time, now this aluminum can be also reclaimed from aluminum trihydroxide, okay, right, or even that will be used for the industrial purpose also. So that will also have the added advantage, okay, which is expected to be more cheaper than you compare with the aluminum or lithium ion batteries, okay, and that will ultimately would reduce the significantly the cost of electric vehicles. As you know that the cost of electric vehicles are more in our country, so that will basically reduce the ultimately the cost of the electric vehicles, because the ultimately the cost of the lithium ion batteries will also be reduced. All right, so that is how the battery will be functioning. Okay, so this is what the structure of the battery. Okay, next, the diatom test. Okay, this diatom test is basically done by the forensic experts, right, to ascertain the cause of the death, right, the whether the cause of the death, normally what happens is, right, to ascertain the cause of the death when the person is died because of because of submergence or because of the drowning in the water. So it will be very difficult task for the forensic experts to diagnosing the causes of the death that was caused because of drowning or because of some other region. So the murder case which was related to the Mansukh Hiran, right, the Maharashtra Anti-Terrorist Squad, ATS, have relied on a forensic test which is known as diatom test, okay, which have certain the link with the Mansukh Hiran, the murder case. Okay, now the diatom is basically they are algae. First of all, the diatoms are found in the almost all water bodies, so they are algae. They are consumed by the fishes and other marine animals. So diatom is algae which is consumed by other the marine animals, right? And what happens is when the person is died in the water, obviously that water will have the diatom, and that diatom will be stick to the body of a person, okay, and that will be reflected in the diatom test whether the person was died because of drowning or not. So here the diagnostic of the death which is caused by the drowning is deemed to be a difficult task for the forensic pathology. Okay, a number of tests have been developed to confirm the causes of such death. So diatom test is basically one such test which is having the most important reflection in finding out or to ascertaining the causes of the death, right? So here the body of the dead people will be tested, right? And diatoms, as I told you, that photosynthesizing algae which is present in almost all water bodies, okay. So that is that is maybe either your freshwater body or marine water bodies, okay. So you can basically get the fact out of it. Then the summer campaign or summer campaign. What is summer campaign? That is the strategic action for alleviation of malnutrition and anemia reduction. So summer means the strategic action for the alleviation of the malnutrition and the anemia reduction. So that is summer campaign. Now, as you know that the number of people specifically in the Jharkhand are malnutrition, right? So to track the number of people who are malnutrition, okay, the Jharkhand government announced the summer campaign, which is the strategic action for the alleviation of malnutrition and anemia reduction, right? Through that, the government of Jharkhand would collect, the data, right? Specifically the population of the Jharkhand, right? Whether they are malnutrition or not. If they found malnutrition, the Jharkhand government would provide, the strategic action to reduce such malnutrition and anemia among the population of Jharkhand. Okay, so this campaign, which aims to identify first of all anemic women, okay, the malnourished children, okay, and simultaneously after identifying, there will be a convergence of various departments, okay, there to effectively deal with the problem, okay, in specifically in the state where the malnutrition is basically a major problem, okay. So it will be, the convergence of various schemes or the departments which were already there, okay. The summer is launched basically a 100 days target, under which there will be annual surveys which will be conducted to track the progress of such reduction of the malnutrition children as well as the anemic women, okay. And to tackle this severe acute malnutrition among the children, the Anganwadi centers or every Anganwadi center will be engaged, right? These children's, and subsequently, right, they will be treated, or such children will be treated in the malnutrition treatment centers to remove such malnutrition among the children, okay. As well as the anemic women will also be, first of all ascertained, will be listed, will be documented, and they will be referred to the health centers in the serious cases if they are highly anemic. So both malnutrition children as well as the anemic women will be sent to the respective treatment centers where they will be treated, right? And so that their malnutrition as well as their anemic condition can be resolved. Okay. Now, how will you ascertain whether the person is anemic or whether the person is malnutrition? So you will be measuring through the mid upper arm circumference, okay, that is your body. So that you will measure the circumference of your mid upper arm, okay. After measuring the circumference of the woman or children, right, through the tape, so that will have the middle upper arm circumference tape. So through the tape you will measure, okay. Then through the edema labels, that is the swelling in a smaller area or the entire body, that is happens due to the malnutrition, okay. So either you use this MUAC tapes as well as, either swelling in the body that will be there in the whole body or a part, okay, that will show you that the malnutrition which is whether related to or attributed to the particular disease or not, okay. Then the government of Jharkhand also taken the help of the Anganwadi Sahiya or the Sevikas that will be, that will take such malnutrition women and children to the nearest health center, okay, and they will be checked again and registered on the portal on the State Nutrition Mission. So the idea is basically to track the population of the children as well as the women which are malnutrition, okay, and so that their population can be comprehensively reduced, okay, and it can have the better, right, focused, the target on the reduction of the number of children who are malnutrition as well as the women who are anemic in the nature, okay. So it is the political map of Jharkhand, okay. So that's all for the today. Thank you very much. We will meet tomorrow for our next current affairs. Thank you very much.